Intuition's my best bud. I feel like I've intuitively, I think I've been following my intuition, most of my life. I can give some very, very concrete examples, though, of how much it's shifted my life. So I remember I was sitting in Australia I was about 25, and I was working in a job that I loved, and it was amazing. I also had this side gig where I was doing video work for companies, corporate work, and I was making more money than I ever had in my life, and I was hanging around this millionaires that were doing great things and real estate investors, and it's where I wanted to be. And I also had this creative job, that internship, photography internship with one of my best friends, and I just adored this chapter. I had just met a guy that I thought I was going to be with forever. Like, everything was perfect. And I was sitting at my desk working away, and my heart just said, go to Europe one way. And I was like, what? No, I'm 25. No. What do you mean? Go to Europe one way now? I have everything set up for me. I was like, go to Europe one way. Buy one-way ticket. You've never lived in Europe as an adult. Go one way. I was like, oh God, no. So anyway, for 2 months leading up to me leaving, I was crying almost every night because I was so scared and sad that I was leaving. However, I knew I had to. It was beyond me. It just had to happen because this voice was so strong. Sometimes it comes a little bit more subtle, but in this repetitive thought process of like, you should do this. Hey, by the way, remember this. Hey, by the way, remember this. And that's the second hit that I got. Well, not second. One of the other hits that I've recently, in the last 2 years gotten was I just was watching the finance space on YouTube, and so many dudes on there. And I was like, ugh, boring. Yeah. And I knew for a fact it was beyond any doubt. I was like, I know that I could work in this space and it would work because I knew that there was a desire for females. I just knew it was going to work. Yeah. And I was sitting on this idea for about 12 months, maybe 24 months before we actually did it with my business partner, my ex-partner, which is now turned into business partner. And within 12 months, we slayed in this space. So it doesn't mean that I have to execute on these things necessarily, because now we have a team with Abundantia of 11 amazing individuals that without them we would not be able to do what we do. Yeah, it's I don't have to execute, but I have those intuitive hits that I know things are going to work. Yeah. And so I follow them pretty fiercely because it's at the point though that I feel I'm so kind of in tune with myself that if I go against it, my whole life starts falling apart really severely. And it hurts me physically, starts hurting me. Like nothing is flowing. It's like I'm pushing a giant boulder up the hill, and eventually I get exhausted. Yeah. And I just can't go on. And I thought people kind of felt the same way, and they kept doing. They did the same thing, but then someone pinpointed out to me. They were like, "No, actually, this is sometimes people just override it and they keep going with their lives." The discomfort, if you don't follow your intuition, for me is so significant that my life falls apart and everything feels heavy and miserable and I'm depressed. Oftentimes the result, if I don't follow my intuition, is I become like depressed. So I'm like, oh, okay, I have to do something because I can't live like this. Yeah. So I'm grateful that my physical body shows me feedback, gives me like such significant feedback of you're not on your right path, time to switch. And then for the sake of knowing that I'm going to die one day and I don't want to live this miserable, I have to make the change, as uncomfortable and horrifically scary as 99.9% of the time it is to walk away from a relationship that you've been in that you thought was going to be forever, to move from a country that you thought you were going to live in forever.